rest of us at Park University to help bring the global perspective into curricular and co-curricular programs. And so it's a wonderful opportunity now for me to introduce to you Steven Youngblood for today's commencement.
Thank you, Dr. Droege, administrators, Board of Trustees members, honored guests, esteemed faculty colleagues, and graduates. I'm really impatient. You know that annoying guy behind you at the grocery store who's making sighing noises when you're counting out pennies? That's me. Or the jerk leaning on his horn at the ATM drive-thru while you spend 5 minutes organizing the money in your wallet? It drives me crazy. Again, yours truly. So, true to form, I thought the best way to start today's festivities would be to give in to my impatience and to get on with it already. Thus, in the spirit of quickly dispensing with the dull, obligatory commencement speech fluff, I offer you the shortest and perhaps worst commencement speech in history. For fun, see if you can count the cliches. Class of 2011, my hope for you is that you spread your wings and follow your passions. Indeed, the world is your oyster, so go forth and trust your instincts as you make the world a better place. You are the future, and today is the first day of the rest of your life, so follow your dreams. Remember that commencement means beginning, so one door is closing and another door is opening. Education is a journey, not a destination. So go forth, climb up on the shoulders of others, and seize the day as you look back on your college experience as the best of your life. I counted 17 cliches. Now, like all cliches, there's some wisdom in these tired old statements. I particularly like the one about making the world a better place myself. But what these cliches leave out is any consideration at all of what you're thinking right now. Okay, maybe you're thinking about the after-graduation party. But what you've really been thinking about these past weeks is this: what now? I don't just mean what job you will do. What I mean is more than that. Not just finding a career, but discovering how you can be a difference maker. For me, and for many others, the difference we make can be summed up in one word: peace. Promoting peace in our communities and in our world is a calling that I not only recommend, it is, in my experience, the path to a kind of fulfillment that I struggle putting words to. Class of 2011, where will you find peace, and how will you incite peace? I can almost hear you grumbling. Yeah, peace is okay, but I'm all about making money. Accumulating wealth is fine, of course, especially if you're making generous donations to your alma mater. But what I hope my colleagues and I have accomplished as professors, other than delivering course contents and outcomes, is to give you the desire and the tools to incite peace. Inciting peace is a process. Some, like my Ugandan friend Betty, figured out how to do this at a very young age. I'll tell you a little bit more about Betty in a moment. But for others like me, it took much longer. I've always known I wanted to report and write. During the 20-plus years after I sat in the audience of my commencement, I practiced my craft and did a little teaching as well. But I was rudderless, like a movie with a bunch of scattered scenes, but no real plot. I was looking for something to make it all meaningful, to tie it all together. I found that meaning and my desire to incite peace in a very unlikely place, the small Eastern European country of Georgia. I was teaching on a Fulbright scholarship in neighboring Azerbaijan in 2007 when the U.S. Embassy called me. They asked if I knew anything about peace journalism and if I would be interested in teaching a peace journalism seminar in Georgia. Of course, I said, I'm practically an expert on peace journalism. Well, when I got off the phone with the embassy, I thought that I'd better Google peace journalism. And I found out that peace journalism is when reporters and editors make choices that make peace possible. This means not using inflammatory language. It means giving peacemakers a voice, and helping citizens understand that there are always viable, non-violent alternatives, even in times of conflict. I like the sound of that. So before I knew it, I found myself in Zindidi in small western Georgia, teaching peace journalism. My class was very interesting. Half of my students were from Georgia, the other half from a place called Abkhazia, which is a breakaway republic. It claims independence from Georgia. It was like being in a room with the Hatfields and the McCoys, or with Israelis and Palestinians, or maybe with Tea Partiers and environmental activists. I thought that they would kill each other and then kill me. This would have definitely put a damper on the seminar. Instead of violence, though, these wonderful Georgian and Abkhazian journalists showed me how to incite peace. At the seminar, the journalists, through no prodding by me, decided to come together to form a press club that they called The Bridge. The Bridge's goal was to encourage peace in both communities through responsible reporting. In just 1 week in isolated western Georgia, I had found my calling, encouraging others to make their communities, their world, a more peaceful place. In the years since 2007, I've been lucky enough to combine my vocation, communications professor, with my need to help others see the value and the logic of peace. The good news for you, class of 2011, is that you don't have to wait, like me, until you have 1 foot into geezerhood to discover the benefits of inciting peace. For example, take my friend Betty Majungu, who I mentioned a little bit earlier. Betty is a reporter at a small radio station in Fort Portal, Uganda, where I spent the last year teaching peace journalism on a State Department grant. Betty attended one of my 30 peace journalism seminars in Uganda. At this seminar, we talked about giving a voice to the voiceless, about empowering citizens to seek development and peace instead of violence and conflict. I had no idea how thoroughly Betty would take my lesson. Betty's story about how one person can make a positive difference, pardon the cliche, is testimony to the power of peace journalism. After I learned what Betty had done as a journalist and as an inciter of peace, I went to Fort Portal to report this amazing tale. Here now is that story.
My home is here in Ichinjojo. I'm 14 years old. I'm an orphan. I take care of my 5 brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest. My mom died. My father killed her. My father killed himself.
When Ugandan journalist Betty Majungu first recorded these words a few weeks ago, she never realized the life-changing impact her report would have. Betty's report, about 6 orphans struggling to survive, is too sentimental for a Hallmark card, too dramatic for Hollywood. Yet, it's an important reminder that radio announcers and journalists here in Uganda can, for a change, be a force for good in their communities. Betty's odyssey began with a recent visit to an isolated shack in western Uganda, about 45 minutes from Fort Portal. There, she met 6 orphans who had been living alone for 13 months. Their home? A tiny mud brick shanty with a leaky, rusty tin roof. 14-year-old Annette took care of the younger kids.
I'm not going to school. We are suffering. We don't have food. Our relatives do not help us.
During their 13 months alone, Betty discovered that the orphans fought a constant battle for medical care and food. Betty interviewed 9-year-old Violet.
I see you crying. What's wrong?
I am hungry.
Betty says she had a hard time controlling her emotions as the orphans told their story.
It was really sad because I personally felt very touched, almost put down tears. Because these girls and boys, as they were talking to me, they were sobbing, and I really felt touched.
A day after the interview, Betty's report was broadcast across western Uganda on Life FM, based in Fort Portal. Betty says the reaction to the report was swift and gratifying.
I was surprised because when I aired these reports on air on radio, people got so touched, people gave me calls, people wanted to know what exactly happened, and I really got another report about it, and The children talked about themselves and what they were going through.
In fact, 10 sympathetic listeners called the station and donated food and clothes for the children. So far, so good, though the orphans still needed some place to stay. This is when the story takes a personal turn for Betty and her mother.
When I came to my mom, explained to her, told her, these kids, look, they're like this and this, she felt it was important to bring them and offer whatever she can.
Yes, Betty's mother, 51-year-old Edith Bofunji, decided to take in the orphans, all 6 of them. I grew up as an orphan and know what orphans go through, so I believe that God is going to provide in all ways. For the orphans, life is 1,000 times better living with Betty and Edith. Still, there are challenges. The only income coming into the house is Betty's small radio station salary. There is no electricity. The children have been traumatized and are alarmingly quiet and sedate. Smiles seem in short supply, even when the kids are singing for a visitor. Also, the kids seem to constantly cling to one another. Still, even with these problems, and behind the children's defenses, it's clear to see that they are very grateful to Betty and Edith.
I'm really happy because I've now got a parent. I'm an orphan. My father killed my mom, but getting a parent who is going to look after me.
That's 9-year-old Violet. Her sister Annette agrees.
But now I'm okay. Heavy workers. I hope I may go to school.
Annette's dream of attending school is one shared by all the orphans. Yet, even with a new home, this dream seemed out of reach. School here isn't free. The cost of uniforms and fees for all 6 kids is $250, much more than Betty can afford. However, after hearing the orphan's story, a donor who wishes to remain anonymous stepped forward. He gave Betty $250 to pay for the kids' uniforms and fees this term. The donor has also committed to paying for the kids' schooling in the future. 13-year-old Janet has big plans for her education. She's going to be a teacher. Annette also has lofty goals.
I'm now happy because I'm going back to school. I'm so happy. I will become a doctor when I complete my schooling.
These kids originally lived in isolated western Uganda in Kayonjojo district before they were rescued by Betty, her mother Edith, and some Good Samaritans. Most of all, these kids were saved by the power of Betty's radio reporting. Anyone who doubts the potential of radio here in Uganda to change lives need only talk to 7-year-old Patrick.
Here we eat, we get soap for washing clothes, and we are smart. At least we see there is some future, there is some hope that we can be okay and be children and look like any other child.
As you leave the kids' new home, you'll often find them behind the house, tending to 3 cows or a boisterous rooster. The orphans are quiet, as usual. Maybe they're pondering their good fortune in being interviewed and having their story told by Betty Mujungu. Reporting from Fort Portal in western Uganda, I'm Steven Youngblood. The epilogue is mostly good news. The kids are all fine, still living with Betty and Edith. Money is a constant worry. Betty struggles to put food on the table and to deal with occasional medical bills. 5 of the 6 kids go to school and are doing well. Annette is still determined to be a doctor. As I've talked with Betty over the last few months, I notice a young woman who has completely changed. This is because, I think, she has discovered how she can incite peace by helping those who can't help themselves. Like me, she's lucky enough to have a vocation, reporter, that allows her to fulfill her peaceful mission. I've told Betty that she's my hero, and I mean that sincerely. So let me get to the point. I'm here today to tell you that you are Betty Mujungu, or maybe that you can channel your inner Betty and find a purpose in life, peace, that both embraces and transcends your chosen career. I know what you're thinking. Well, I'm an English major, or an accounting major, or an economics, political science, or biology major. What does peace have to do with my field? The answer isn't as elusive as you think. Regardless of your discipline, each of you can utilize the wonderful liberal arts education that you take away from Park University to help promote societal development and foster cooperation and reconciliation. You an accounting major? Be a peace accountant. Public relations major? Peace public relations. In fact, I have a former student, Laura, who is using her PR know-how to launch a newsletter for Kansas City's homeless community. Why couldn't she be a peace economist or a peace political scientist? Heaven knows we could use a few of those. My esteemed colleague, criminal justice professor emeritus Dr. Carol Getty, often talks of peace criminal justice, of rethinking the ineffective war on drugs, for example, or ending racial disparities in sentencing. Dr. Getty may even write a book about this. Nursing major? The opportunities as a peace nurse to help communities heal are nearly limitless. In fact, I've personally seen Park's peace nurses in action, tending to folks in a poverty-stricken area of Brazil. Pre-law major? I know a Park graduate who's now in law school who is using his legal expertise to help veterans find peace once they're out of the service. Javier, that's his name, he's another one of my heroes. What about peace business? I say, why not? Bill Gates is staggeringly wealthy, but I don't think it's his money that makes him the world's richest man. Bill Gates is the world's richest man because of the opportunity he has had to improve the world around him. Since 1994, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has given over $25 billion to make the world a better place. Bill Gates is another one of my heroes, but not because of his money. Are you or will you be enlisted in the military? The notion of a peace soldier isn't as far-fetched as it seems. I have an Israeli friend, a young man who I'll call David, who will soon be drafted into the Israeli Defense Forces. As a matter of fact, David got his draft notice just this October. Having discovered peace, he is determined to become a peace soldier. David said he will make it a point to be kind and even helpful to Palestinians when he's manning checkpoints or doing searches or pat-downs. He said he will be the first to call out fellow soldiers who treat anyone disrespectfully or step over the line of ethical behavior. David is also my hero. While we're talking about peace soldiers, one of the world's top peacemaking organizations, People to People International, was actually founded by the 20th century's most celebrated military man. People to People, based right here in Kansas City, has a motto, peace through understanding. I volunteered for People to People and have been amazed at their ability to bring people together, regardless of their nationality, race, religion, or ethnicity. In 1956, General Dwight David Eisenhower launched People to People International. So, whether you're a soldier, business person, or journalist, making a commitment to peace can make all the difference in the world and can make all the difference for the world as well. If all of this seems daunting to you, I urge you to remember Betty Majunga. Where would those 6 orphans be had she not made a commitment to inciting peace? Class of 2011, with your education and your commitment, you can be the next Betty Majunga. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that important message and also for the very important work you do around the world, one of Park's great faculty members. We will now recognize student honors.
Thank you. The gold cord that you see many of the students wearing here this morning signifies academic honors. I will now introduce the different categories and the students within those categories. Students graduating with distinction have completed 24 to 44 hours at Park University and have accumulated a 3.75 or better grade point average. Will the students who are graduating with distinction please rise and be recognized? Students graduating cum laude have maintained a grade point average of 3.5 to 3.69 throughout their entire academic career at Park University. Would those students graduating cum laude please stand and be recognized? Next, students graduating magna cum laude have maintained a grade point average of 3.7 to 3.899 throughout their undergraduate studies at Park University. Would the students who are graduating magna cum laude please stand and be recognized? Finally, students graduating summa cum laude have maintained a grade point average of 3.9 to 4.0 throughout their entire undergraduate career at Park University. Now, will those students please stand and graduate summa cum laude? Now the moment that you've all been waiting for. This morning we'll begin by conferring all graduate degrees. As I name each of the individual master's degree with the candidates from those respective programs, please rise and remain standing and please hold your applause. Master of Business Administration. Please rise. Master of Education. Master of Arts and Teaching. Master of Public Affairs. Master of Healthcare Leadership. And Master of Arts in Communication and Leadership. Please congratulate them. President Krogi, it gives me great pleasure to present to you and those present here this morning these master's degree candidates. Having been approved by the faculty of the graduate program and the faculty of the university, I recommend to you to confer their respective degrees upon them at this time.
On the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Park University and under the laws of the state of Missouri, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree for which you've been certified with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining, and for which the diploma you are about to receive shall forever bear the testimony. Congratulations to you.
At this time, we will now present the graduates with their diplomas. Will the graduates receiving master's degrees please come forward? Marshall will work with them.
Master of Business Administration, Courtney Mangon. Pamela Semikashev. Mama Lupu. Tanisa Tyler.